Good morning, Superkickin with Stephen Fayed, your favorite host right here, the Greg One, Stephen A. 1181. Hopefully my voice makes it through. As you could tell, I think I've been talking way too much over the past couple days. I told you, Greg, I was helping with the robotics event yesterday at school all day, and then I was there till about 7 the night before helping set up. So I'm exhausted, as you could probably tell. How are you doing though? Off a Royal Rumble extravaganza.
Hey, I thought your voice was gone from popping so much last night. Um,
Yeah.
good, man. Nights like last night are reasons that I'm not completely off the reservation with WWE. This was the best pay-per-view or premium live event that they put on in a while. So, props on them for last night. It was awesome. Um, so I'm still fired up after watching that last night. It's awesome.
Which is kind of interesting, Greg, because I don't know if you've been scouring Twitter, but a lot of people kind of, crapped on it. One guy's like, it's the worst since 2015, which I was like, that's like 7 years. Like, I mean, that's not really a big gap, but some people, I think we are, of course, in the that age of everything we have to go to the extreme. Either it's the best of all time or it's the worst. There's no really in between. So we'll start. So here are the results for anybody who did miss it. We'll start with the Rumbles, Greg, because I have to do I'm not trying to pat myself too much on the back, but I called both winners. And I think I even went as far to say what number they would. I thought I called Brock for 30, and I thought Ronda, I said like 27, 28, which was where she ended up. Which one do you want to start with, Greg? I'll give you the choice.
We'll start with the women.
Yeah, the women's no NXT, which I think that really says a lot. I think that it kind of harkens back to the original days, Greg, because we really never worried about NXT being involved with it until NXT really got on the, was close to the same level. And now it's like we're cycling back to where they're truly treating NXT in its own landscape, in its own, bubble, as it were. So the fact that we didn't get any, and like we said, I mean, we expected maybe 2 at the most, maybe 3 if, Dakota, Raquel, and Io. We're like, those are the ones. And I guess going back to NXT stuff, I know you love your girl Asuka, Greg. I'd like to see her team up with Io, because Io kind of said, I don't need friends on NXT, but she is trying to be in the Dusty Classic, so that might be a good pairing there if they can do that. And telling that maybe Asuka wasn't on last night. So we had Melina there to surprise. I did not expect to see Melina. Looking a little more filled out. She still looked good. Nothing. Not trying to say too much there, but Sasha with her Sailor Moon cosplay that, as many people said, it will give men a little extra memory banks, as you can call it. Especially when she did the Melina move, and I was like, oh my God, the internet men are going to keep this GIF just for special use later on, I'm sure. So Bella Twins looked okay. I thought they might last a little bit longer, but I guess that's what and both Rumbles had this kind of lack of, not a lot of fanfare when the eliminations happened. I don't know if they just weren't catching it, or if they were so worried about the next person coming in. and it was a long night. Like we said, the pandemic days, I kind of missed the 2.5 hour, maybe 3 hour pay-per-view. And last night it was a 4 hour event to sit through. So Ronda makes sense, Greg. I mean, it sounds like it's going Ronda Charlotte, but I think if you go Ronda Charlotte or Ronda Becky, that's going to close night one of WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came down to it, you had to pull your money, your moneymaker. And we knew Ronda was going to come back. I don't think Ronda was going to be like, I'm done. I had a baby. I moved on. Really, I thought the best surprise was Sarah Logan. And I'm kind of thinking, I'm hoping that maybe her and Liv can get a tag team going, Greg, and, hopefully get the tag team titles. Now, I don't know if Sarah Logan is full-time, or, maybe she just came one off and saw if she wants to be back. There was a nice little digital exclusive with her and Liv, like real pure moment. And I thought we kind of saw that. And that's the thing. That's always the best thing about the Rumble, Greg, is those pure, unscripted moments that just kind of happen. But Sarah Logan being back there was kind of nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
But Sasha getting eliminated early. I mean, like top 15-ish? It seemed like she was gone right away. So I don't know. I was curious if she's all the way back. Maybe this was just a little like, we'll clear you, see where you're at. If we need to, give you more time to, rehab or whatever. And I saw a lot of people run with Bayley, Greg, and I'm like, well, Bayley is still legit posing her working out. Like, she wasn't ready. I mean, I hate saying it, but now her and Trish did have a nice copying each other's Twitter pictures, and I'm like, oh my God, just give that to me. Trish and Bayley, I think for WrestleMania would be fun. Because then you could have Bayley starting to do the Charlotte route and maybe go against some legends. So, or Sasha Lita or Charlotte Lita. So, I was, like I said, I guess I'm going to be good on it because I picked it. But at the same time, Ronda just made the most sense because it's Ronda. I mean, you had her back. You weren't going to have her lose. I mean, it's like when she debuted, everybody thought she'd be in the Rumble, but she just kind of showed up after. So, you knew she had to get in to win one, and she did it. So, that's kind of my take on it. What's your take on it?
Yeah, a few things. Number one, on the NXT thing, I wasn't happy about that because there are a lot more women who are deserving of being in that match and getting that exposure in the NXT level than Melina and Summer Rae and Kelly and Molly Holly. I mean, really, you could have used that time, that exposure, so much better. And it really does define down the importance of NXT as a whole. So not impressed with that. And it was a moment to give those ladies, that big spotlight before you call them up. Give them some familiarity. So I definitely was not happy at the choices in bringing all these legends or,
Alicia
the
Fox.
old guard back in. Right, Alicia Fox. Really, nobody cares about Alicia Fox. And, it was disappointing for me on that level. As far as creating NXT in its own little universe as its own separate entity, it's a very small and indistinct entity right now. I mean, after you branched off from the black and gold brand, it's all, it's very minor league. So, and those women down there don't deserve that, especially Io, Raquel, and Dakota, who've really earned it. So, that was my biggest beef with the whole thing, is that the women that they chose versus who they could have put in there and got that exposure. And then there were some good moments in the match as far as, the face-offs that we got to see, Charlotte and Lita. And I had a problem with the whole Molly Holly thing, but the moment where her and Nikki Ash was entertaining for a second, and you wonder if that's going to go somewhere. And And then Ronda, I think we both decided or figured if Ronda's in it, she's going to win it. And so it was nice hearing her music hit. And I was watching the crowd pop big for it. And so they're going to be behind it. And I think it's Becky, no brainer. Becky and Ronda have a lot to settle because they were supposed to be 1-on-1 in WrestleMania, the WrestleMania at the triple or the main event. And so there's a lot of unresolved issue going on right there. So I think it's going to be Becky slam dunk with Ronda. Um, so overall, aside from the whole NXT aspect, I thought it was a great Rumble. Um, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Ronda says and does when Raw and SmackDown hit. Because they'll probably stretch it out for a couple weeks. Her popping up on both shows and seeing where Ronda is. So I love Ronda and going all the way back to her MMA days. And so it should be fun to see how far she's come because she's been training. Hopefully she's been working on her stick skills too. And if she has, it's going to make everything that much better.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm hearing it's Ronda, Charlotte, and then I would assume you'd have to do Becky and Bianca because they're still unresolved there. But like you said, I think either way you can't go wrong. I mean, because both of them have that beef. So, how about the men's side? I'll let you kind of give your take first, and then I'll go from there.
Well, the men, it was definitely. I got to give myself the champ on that one with the whole issue of putting Brock and Lashley close to the Rumble. So when Brock got screwed, pissed off Brock gets into the Rumble and wins, and there's his payback. I liked how they did the whole thing and the setup because you have to go back to the whole Lashley match and the turn and setting that all up. So the men's Rumble was good. I think maybe not as good as the women's Rumble was, surprisingly. But once the conclusion with the Lashley match happened, you pretty much knew what was going to happen with the men's Rumble. So it was entertaining for what it was. Not many, like big surprises. I know the hype and everything went all crazy, and we were hoping for, the Forbidden Door to open wider, and some different names pop up. I heard Moose a lot over the week, and some other indie guys, but that door didn't open on the men's side. So,
I think we had to. Yeah, I was gonna say I think we had to see how the Mickey James stuff. Like we said, if Impact and WWE can have some working relationship, maybe down the road, we can at least crack door. And I guess some of you brought up Molina from NWA, which has a working relationship with Impact. But how about Kofi Kingston's botch? I feel kind of bad because there's more going to happen, but yeah, he couldn't catch himself.
Yeah, that's a crazy spot to even attempt.
Because it was pretty far. Like I felt like it was going to mimic the John Morrison one, but John Morrison looked a lot closer than the Kofi one. I mean, that was a pretty good distance. And Greg, what about Big E?
All right, I guess now we're going into the fridge and taking out the 40.
I mean, there wasn't even any. Like we said, the elimination drew were just like, like they didn't even, they didn't really announce, almost announce it like as anything. So, I don't know where Big E go. And, this gets into, so obviously we had to go Brock Roman, but on the Raw side of things, it's wide open. I mean, I don't know who the heck you're putting out there against Lashley. I thought you could have done Big E. I mean, maybe if he has a run in the Elimination Chamber. because that's probably what's going to happen. It'll probably be the Elimination Chamber will be the number one contender for Raw. I mean, do you maybe visit AJ Styles? You know, I maybe even Seth. Now that do you think we got? This is kind of going back and forth, Greg, but Seth Rollins almost did a face turn. Do you think we get more of a face side out of Seth after last night?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I think
go ahead, sir.
With heel versus heel with Seth and Roman, that it ended up with Seth being more babyface just because of the mind games. And by the end of the match, everybody was on Seth's side.
Yeah.
But once you get back to Raw and him, going back to the same character, he's going to be the heel. Because what I noticed was during the whole Lashley Lesnar match is that Lashley was representing himself more as a babyface. I noticed him coming down the ramp and tagging hands with some of the fans who are along the entranceway. That's not a Lashley move.
Yeah.
He worked more of a babyface style. And then the way it was being portrayed leading up to the match with Lesnar being disrespectful and off-putting of Lashley, it was reversing the roles and Lesnar being more Lashley-ish and Lashley being more of the babyface, I'll show him kind of thing. And so I think once it gets to the actual match, that Lashley be more the babyface and Seth is going to be more of the conniving evil heel.
If we get, but then again, we need Lashley as a heel. I feel like Lashley works so much better with MVP as a voice. And like we said, I think it's wide open. I don't know who you're going to throw out there against Lashley right now. I just, and because you feel like it's not going to close the night. Like we said, the women's Ronda being in the main event is probably making sense, and Brock will be in the main event of night 2. So, but yeah, the Shield. Well, I guess we can kind of get into the Seth and Roman match. The Shield entrance. The mind games that he didn't tap out. He passed out. So you can almost still revisit that in a way too, because technically Rollins got the win.
Right.
So even if you want to go down that road sometime, would we put it past them maybe to put Seth in there against Brock and Roman and kind of revisit WrestleMania 31? And that this would be a legit triple threat match, and you can have Seth work the baby, almost the baby face to both those guys so they even look more dominant. And then I don't know.
I can see it. I don't know if I
don't
care
think
for
we'll
it.
get it. Yeah, they need to be one-on-one, but
yeah,
at the same time, I'm just throwing out ideas because it just seems like Seth has always involved himself with those two guys, so why not? What about Becky Lynch and Doudrop? The crowd was not into that, were they? And that felt like the heel versus heel aspect didn't work because nobody really knew who they should be siding with. You probably have more fans who wanted to cheer Becky, and I'm trying to think where was this match was at? Was it after the Women's Rumble?
Yes.
I think. So maybe that was it too.
Because it started off with Seth and Roman and then went to the Women's Rumble.
Yeah. So maybe that kind of hurt it. But it felt like the crowd was just kind of like almost deflated. Not deflated, but didn't know which way to go with it. Is that maybe a fair assessment of it?
Yeah. It was definitely less of a reaction that you want than it should have been. Because I was really impressed with this match. This was a really, really good match. I wish they'd let him wrestle like this on Raw.
Yeah.
and so good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. They made Dewdrop look super strong.
Mhm.
Um, Again, I got to give myself to Champa because they called the manhandle off of rope since she
Yeah,
couldn't
you did.
lift Dewdrop,
Yep.
and that's how it ended. But the match was a great match.
Hmm.
The way they worked it, the story they told, um, Dewdrop not being a pushover and getting this close a couple times to actually getting the win. Um, it had some really good spots in it. Um, Becky doing the Molly go round that popped me.
Hmm.
That was a pretty cool looking move, and their chemistry together was just great. So
Yeah.
it was a bummer that the fans weren't more into it because it was one of the best matches of the night, and we figured Becky was going to win, but this raises Dewdrop stock
Yeah.
big time. It makes her a main event, um, right below that elite level, but being able to hang with the main event stars.
It does make you wonder where Dewdrop goes, though, as well, because I'm not really sure where she'll fit next. Because, like we said, if we're heading towards either Becky and Ronda or Becky and Bianca, I mean, it kind of leaves Dewdrop out. Does maybe she get Tamina? Some hoss fight just to kind of give her that aspect that she can dominate somebody of
Mhm.
that size. I know it's probably almost a pre-show style match, but hey, we got 2 nights of WrestleMania, so you might be able to squeeze it in. Something, or maybe a dominant run in the elimination chamber, and then maybe
Yeah.
loses at the end or something like that. So,
Hey,
yeah.
that wasn't
Go
a
ahead.
Dewdrop match. That was a Piper Niven match. That looked
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
old uh, WWE UK or NXT UK
Yep.
Piper Niven match right there. That was, super solid. And
And they
she,
both wanted it, so that
yeah,
helps. But like I said,
yeah,
I don't know if maybe next time, if maybe more, the defined roles, like who is face and heel, would help it or not. But it did seem like the crowd was just kind of like not knowing, not knowing what to do with it. Unfortunately, just watching it for what it was.
yeah,
So we talked about Lashley beating Brock Lesnar. Roman gets involved. Paul Heyman gets involved. So now we ultimately have to keep Paul Heyman with Roman, right? We can't we can't keep flip flopping him. Cam, I mean, I guess we can, but it'll probably get tiresome after a while. Like, this probably has to be Roman and Heyman together, and maybe like you said, they can call up Solo. Maybe Heyman can use his wiles to do that, or like we said, well, even Naomi eliminates Sonya. That kind of that it's over with them, isn't it?
yeah.
Well, I guess she did. She did cause the elimination on Naomi, though. So maybe there's still a brief, but you've already had the match where Naomi won. You had
Yep.
to eliminate her. I don't know. I don't. I guess it depends if they put some sort of stipulation, like Naomi loses, she's out, or something like that, and then maybe Heyman tries to work her back. But we probably need some. We need some threat to it with Naomi
Yeah.
and Sonya next match. So, but Roman and Heyman. I mean, I still remember that cliffhanger where they just showed Heyman in the back of Roman, and you're like, wait, what? And that pairing, like, who would have thought? I mean, it's done wonders for Roman's career. Like, it really, I mean, what, 515 days now or 520 days now. So I guess that's the thing, though. Does Brock beat Roman at Mania? And is that really what we want?
Well, it was very good storytelling, and
Yeah.
props to them for all that. The the turn was unexpected.
Yeah.
Um, we saw it as a possibility, but when it really happened, so great storytelling by them. Loved the Lashley and Lesnar match, and this with this ending, Brock doesn't lose anything. Lashley gets escalated up to, back up the champ, and then you fill in some more plot holes with, what's going to happen with Heyman, what's going to happen with Roman, and advancing the Brock versus Roman storyline, which in the end is what we all want. Um, so, you're defining the roles and, setting all the dominoes up on the way to WrestleMania. So I was, impressed with everything they did with it. Um, and it leaves a couple layers to still be told, especially with the whole Seth angle and um, stuff like that. But it was a great moment there with the storytelling and the turn, and the crowd definitely popped big when Heyman handed that title to Roman. Um, and that's if it had been bullied off of him, it wouldn't have had the impact. So with Paul just handing it to him with that Weasley smile on his face, we knew that this was a planned thing. So um,
Once the
you know,
ref bump happened, you knew something had to and that's
yeah,
when I'm like, oh man, they might pull the trigger on Solo coming out because you wouldn't have to disguise him. You just have him straight up,
right.
And even if you had, Roman out there helping Solo or so, but so right now, Greg, Brock over Roman at Mania.
I think
I
it's
mean, it is tough. Like,
yeah. I mean it would make sense to pay it off there. Um,
but it's Brock again getting another title reign.
right. And Roman in chase mode, and then how is that set up for you know next year's Mania and The Rock? So, um, but the way the storyline's playing out, Brock's got to get over on Roman at some point. So, um, Mania's gonna be the best place to do that, especially if Roman's getting the upper hand, at every turn as he has so far. So, um, yeah, I think Brock is going to find a way to win, and they have plenty of time to keep this whole Bloodline versus the Beast storyline going, because it's just still super juicy, especially with the turn of Heyman again. So um, you can keep getting juice out of that squeeze for a while. So you can tell the creative resources are all hands on deck with the Bloodline storyline. I guess now we know why they haven't taken Roman or Heyman off the T-shirts yet.
Yeah.
So, because I was always curious about that once Heyman went with Lesnar. It's like they haven't taken him off the T-shirts. Maybe it's a collector's item, but now we know why. So it's going to be fun to watch, on the road to WrestleMania and see how it pays off at the end.
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, it feels like a face should overcome Roman. Like a up and cut. I mean, I guess it could be Seth in a way because Seth has always had his number, but um, it's interesting. So, and then Edge and Beth Phoenix defeated the Miz and Maurice. I was completely wrong on that, so I'll take the L on that. And you predicted that one right. Is this the end of Edge and Miz feud?
Yeah, the way it ended, I think
I mean,
that's
both
it.
of
There's no
them
more
getting the
story to tell with
Lambazon was
that.
nice.
Yep.
So I mean, technically, could you have the Miz come out and say, "Well, you can't beat me by"? Well, no, Edge already beat him. Edge already beat the Miz one-on-one. So
Yeah.
yeah, you would think this would be the end of the line of that. So, um, not sure where Edge goes for. I mean, has Edge faced Lashley? Could we get Edge? I mean, I guess that's a part. That's I can't remember if we've had that one-on-one yet.
I don't think so.
Okay. I mean, I don't
So
know. It could be something worth exploring. I mean, people love Edge. So, I mean, I'd almost want Edge to overcome Lashley just to give Edge one final run. But, yeah, it would be interesting to see if that would play out. So, oh, and we didn't even mention Drew McIntyre returned in the Rumble, Greg, which I thought was very surprising because he was undetermined timetable. So, I mean, he looked good. I think he came in 20th, it was.
Yeah,
So he
about
got to
then.
work, like 20-some minutes. And, I mean, he was the last two. I kind of thought they might revisit the Drew winning just because I keep saying, and I know it's probably the ship is probably way out in the sea now, but I would love to see Drew kind of get that WrestleMania moment with, especially a crowd like Dallas where it's going to be 100,000 people. I feel like they would finally give him that, love. So, he kind of, in the pandemic era, I mean, he carried the show so much too. So you would think, hey, and we've got Shane O'Mac taking out Kevin Owens. So are we getting Shane O'Mac and Kevin Owens too?
We could. I mean, what?
Why not?
If there's a McMahon on the screen, it's going to do something. So,
yeah.
Very telling that he ended up going in there and taking out KO. So,
and Bad Bunny. Sorry, I didn't even mention Bad Bunny was one of the last four, wasn't he? Our last five.
Yeah, he was, and really impressed by him.
Yeah.
He got some good stuff in. Destroyer was awesome.
Hit it on Riddle.
Right. He was very, crafty, and he looked, slick, smooth with his
Do
with
you
his
think
work.
we get Bad Bunny a one-on-one match for Mania this year, just to kind of get that celebrity involvement? And well, he's got all the international fame. I feel like they might milk the teat, as they say, as much as they can, because I mean they put him in the Rumble, so I don't know.
Right.
I don't know where he fits. Like, there's no,
Well, that's the thing. There's too much. There's too many more, matches that are more deserving to go in there. I mean, this may be his, WrestleMania moment as it is, because
that could be, yeah. Especially if he's going on tour.
Exactly. He's about to go on tour and do I think it's a huge stadium tour. So this may be his WrestleMania. Yeah. So this is probably his WrestleMania season moment, and he can just go on that. So I don't think he's going to have an individual match, or going to be on the WrestleMania card at all, unless it's to sing a song or something.
That's really all I got on the Rumble takes. Did you have any other Rumble takes overall? I know. Go ahead. Sorry.
I didn't give you my Seth and Roman breakdown.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
In the sense that I thought it was definitely the best match of the night.
Yeah.
The story he told was awesome. Seth coming out to the Shield music was amazing. Giving the little flashback with the vest on and doing the whole thing. It was awesome. And plus the fact that he controlled 3/4 of the match from an offensive standpoint, and the way he did it was super impressive. Even, selling it, Roman like it looked awesome. Was really impressed with the match they laid out, and it was, brilliant. The from start to finish, and then speaking of that finish, Roman just losing his cool and choking out Seth, after the bell and getting disqualified. It furthers what Seth was saying, that you can't beat me, and there's definitely a place to go back to that. And
the chair shot, like exactly in the same spot too. Like,
yeah.
But man, if there was ever a time, Greg, that we could have opened up that door, if we could have just heard like, like the old.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it and hoping that was going to happen. We didn't get it, but
I get it, but man, that place would have
come
unglued, as Michael Cole would have said.
Yeah,
Especially
there would
since
have been nowhere to
SmackDown
go
only.
but down after that, though.
That's true. I mean, yeah, you would have almost had to end the night on it. But
Yeah.
um, oh, by the way, what about Seth's receipt on Roman? Roman had a nice little welt from Seth there. I don't know, it was a hard elbow or something, but yeah, Roman had a nice little welt for him in there.
Yeah, he did.
So
And the chair beat down at the end was
yeah,
great. It's going to be fuel for a more evil Seth down the road. So I was happy with how the whole match played out. It was great storytelling. It was both the guys looked amazing, and hands down the best match of the night. So
yeah.
again, like I said, it was the best pay-per-view that they've put on in a while. Top to bottom. Um, I take out the Edge and Miz match, and this was, you know, 4.5 stars in my book.
Well, the placement of that match, obviously, you knew it was going to be like a breather
Yeah,
before the Rumble, so which is fine. I mean, they got the main event slot on Monday Night Raw, so it still showed it had importance. But yeah, I mean, nice for Edge and Beth to have that moment. I mean, they'll like they always say, you'll be able to share that with those kids. And that's kind of the thing about the women's Rumble, Greg. Like, it was crazy to think at one time there was like 5 or 6 moms in there. Like, who would have ever thought?
right.
We're just so, and I guess maybe we just never know, just because social media. Like, it's still hard for me to believe that Tamina's a mom. Like, people mention she has a kid, and I'm like, what? Like, but I think you had the Bella twins, you had Sarah Logan. I thought you had Rhonda in there at some, like all together. I
Right.
mean, maybe Mickey was in there at the time, but I could be wrong. But
And
yeah, it was just kind of. Go ahead.
and letting Mickey come out with her in championship.
And their
Um,
song.
Props to them for doing that and recognizing it during the show. Right. Um, letting her have the full treatment, and then she was in there for maybe 10, 15 minutes. So, not having her come in and get immediately thrown out, and shows she's champion, and giving Impact some shine on their show. So, props to them for doing that. Make you look good. Had some good spots. Also, Michelle McCool. I was
She
impressed with
looked
her
pretty
work
good.
too. Yeah, she looked great, and I heard on an interview where her daughter gets Charlotte confused with her. She looks at Charlotte on the screen, and goes, "Hey, Mommy." It's goes, "No, Mommy's here." And when I saw it, I was like, "Yeah, you can see that. They look very similar and have the kind of same style." So that would be a fun match to see at some point.
Yeah. And then I brought up just talking with my family. I'm like, man, Kelly doesn't even look like if you told me that was Kelly, Greg, I'd be like, who? Like, she doesn't even look. I don't know
Right?
what she's had done, but I think she's had everything done. So
Yeah, she definitely looks different.
Ivory. Oh, we didn't even mention Ivory coming on to Right to Censor and getting her little 15 seconds of fame. And
Yep.
if there's ever a time for Right to Censor, though, Greg,
Oh gosh,
2022
yeah.
is kind of it. I mean, I think they would, be that. I mean, it's almost like the Joe Gacy type, like interesting. It'd be really interesting to kind of pull them off and see how they would do in today's culture. But yeah, so like you said, I think the women's rumble probably had a little more oomph to it than the men's,
Yeah.
just with all that was going on. And and plus, like the men's, we just had so many tag teams in there that we didn't need, and not even
Right.
getting, and like I thought maybe Montez Ford might get a little more run. He was out pretty quickly, and Riddle and Orton, were out. Well, Orton was towards the end, but Riddle got to get the Bad Bunny spot. I guess that's good for him. But um,
And the
you know,
springboard RKO was pretty awesome though.
yeah, it was.
Where
Yeah, off of Otis or
yeah, I think it was
was it?
Otis.
Yeah, that was nice. So, well, that's all I really got today. We will get caught back up on AEW next week. I've just been lacking on Rampage. Is hard for me to keep up with, Greg, because of a Friday night and you're just so busy sometimes. And so we'll get, but I do have one prediction for the year already done, Greg, because Danhausen is officially AEW. And that was one of my New Year's predictions, I believe.
Yep, very true.
I said he would sign with someone. I assumed it was going to be AEW, and he showed up at Beach Break. Orange Cassidy picks up the win, right? Over.
Yeah,
yeah.
Great match too. But Orange and the lights out with Adam Cole. Great match. Love the finish. I am out to lunch on Danhausen. I don't know who he is. I heard him on a Jericho's podcast, but that's the only thing I know about him.
He lives the gimmick. I know that much.
It's the first time I've seen what he looks like. So I've heard the name before, but I have no idea what he does, how he.
I've yet to see his in-ring work, Greg, personally, but I've kept on the social media aspect of him, and he's got his own YouTube channel. He does unboxing stuff, and he's in the gimmick. I mean, he's like all in. So, and then real quick, what about MJF and CM Punk? Does that actually happen in Chicago, or does some shenanigans happen?
Well,
we can bring up
that. I think it will happen just because. Yeah, MJF. This match is going to happen. What better place to humiliate Punk than in his hometown? So, I think the match actually does happen. Does he get the win? Not so sure about that.
Maybe DQ or something like a DQ Punk win that keeps him still fresh.
But I think we do get a solid match, though.
Does Wardlow turn officially in at some point in that match, or are we still going to wait on the Wardlow turn till later?
A little bit later, not yet.
Okay.
We're seeing some increased resistance as far as
that's what I'm wondering.
Being the henchman.
Yeah.
You're seeing his moral side starting to show. Just in the last this past week's beatdown on Punk, that Wardlow kind of stood off in the corner and was not an active participant in it until he was called to be a participant in it. So he's slowly pulling away from him. So I think a few more weeks before the full blown turn happens.
Yeah. So so there's some quick AEW talk for your taste real quick. No Gargano. He did tweet out, Greg, saying, I heard you all, and don't worry. I'm coming when I come, and of course people are all, very, understanding. It's just probably too close with Candace being pregnant. I think she's due anytime. So it's like, it would be tough, and especially if you don't know what your future, I don't know if they'll sign a, short-term deal just to kind of see where things are at, but hopefully we'll hear something on that. So, well, we'll do our quick brand plugs real quick because I want to make sure we pay the bills. Then we'll close up the shop right after this. So we'll just give you a quick few commercial breaks, and then maybe we'll do some NFL predictions real quick before we call off the show. That will be our last call for the evening or the day.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy Dan over at BWSPORTS1.com and Black and White Sports. And I'm wondering if you're ready to buy or sell that home, now's the time, and I got just the person for you. Mr. Sean Nugent, a.k.a. Rockstar Realtor himself. 317-503-8322. Put that home on the market. Get into your dream home with this man. Talk to Sean at Talk to Tucker today, 317-503-8322, and make sure you tell him the boys over at BWSPORTS1.com sent you.
All right, we're at the last call, Greg. So your NFL conference championship predictions. Who you going with? Bengals and Chiefs, and then Rams and 49ers.
I am going to take the Bengals.
Okay.
And I'm going to take the Rams. So for the second,
really ready.
Absolutely, for the second year in a row, we get a team playing in their home stadium in the Super Bowl. So, and I'll go ahead and call my shot now that the Rams are going to take the whole thing. I'm an AFC guy to the end, but this one, I think the Rams are going to take it, and part of me wants to see Stafford win after the career he's had and playing on the disastrous teams he's had to play for.
Purgatory he was in.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So that would be crazy too if the Rams, like here we've never had any home teams play in the Super Bowl. Now we could have back-to-back. I mean, who would have thought? So I think I'm going with the same. It just feels like all the money, like all the karma is on the Bengals for once. Hopefully they do not, whether it's at the old term, bungle this up. And that's probably the thing, Greg. We probably just jinxed them, but it feels like a lot of people are calling for the Chiefs. And like you said, I mean, the Rams they were all in. What they signed Odell, they signed Von Miller halfway through the season or traded for him or whatever they did.
Yeah.
I mean, this is who knows what they do next, with all these contracts. You can't keep everybody, as we always say. So who knows what they do after the fact. But like you said, you probably need to pick up the win now and make it all worth it. So,
and they're taking the Bengals lightly because, they think the Chiefs are going to roll, but they forget the fact that the Bengals already beat the Chiefs this season.
Yeah.
So there's that too. They had that familiarity, and, Burrow did work in that game. So, don't sleep on the Bengals, and I think people are still are going to, and they're going to be surprised by the end of this game.
And I guess the last call is Tom Brady retired.
Hey, bye, Tom. Bye, Felicia.
He hasn't said it yet, so knowing him, Greg, I feel like out of spite, he'll just come back because he didn't get to do that. Like they say, he's not controlling the message. So would we really put it past him to just be like, F it, I'm coming back? Like he could do the old Michael Jordan, like the fax machine thing and saying I'm back probably. And, get all and then, make it all about him, like A-Rod. And it seems like baseball is really big on the retirement tours. And I think, NBA's done it a couple times, Vince Carter. I thought maybe, Tim Duncan retired after Tim Duncan did the most low key retiring ever. And then you see Tim Duncan out. And I'm like, that's Tim Duncan. Like that is the one thing though, Greg, if Tom Brady retires, I want to see him just scarf down a box of double stuffed Oreos and, some pizza with all the cheese and all the oil and grease on it. And, look like a fat ass at some point, but that would probably never happen. So anyways, so we'll see what his team has not officially said anything, but apparently other people are running with it. Tom Brady Sr. said he is not retired, Greg. Since we need dads speaking up for their kids.
Sure.
I'm really starting to get annoyed with that. You got a 44-year-old man who's like, can
Right.
see, and then anyways. So, but anyways, thank you for watching this special edition of Superkickin with Steven. We were happy to kind of give our quick takes and instant reaction on, I started to say WrestleMania, on Royal Rumble as we head into the road to WrestleMania. Next month, we'll talk up the Saudi Arabia show, and that should be interesting to kind of see how they pull off the Elimination Chamber there. And then we'll be hitting the road for WrestleMania 2 nights in Dallas. So good stuff coming down the pipeline. We got Revolution coming in March for AEW. Just some good stuff. We got Vengeance Day for NXT, and this is the real fun time of the year. All the big shows, all the wrestling companies put on their best shows. So
Yeah.
thank you for watching. Talk to you guys later. Have a good rest of your Sunday and enjoy the conference championships today.
Peace.